So we're going to be redeveloping our ST180 exhaust system. The ST180 is one that we've kind of constantly been asked for, I guess. We originally did it a couple of years ago. It was fairly successful, but the exhaust didn't really fit as well as what we would like. The original car we did it on didn't have any heat shields, and we didn't know that because I had no experience with the car until after we'd kind of done the development and then realised it didn't fit as well as it should have done on cars with heat shields. But it's taken a long time, but what that's given us an opportunity to do is to actually redevelop the exhaust system. I'm not sure how many exhaust manufacturers do that, like go back and kind of redevelop. So yeah, we're going to go through the process of doing that. Some of the things we don't need to change, but some of them we do. We're going to go through some of the mandrel bending and then how we're going to construct the rear silencer. A few of the interesting parts, some of them aren't really that interesting, but we'll try and cover as much as we can and take you through the process. One of the first things with the ST180 system that's like notorious is the like exhaust bushes that hang the stock system. They're okay for the stock system, but as soon as you give that added weight of a stainless system, they're just not up to the job, and it causes knocking on the rear beam with pretty much every aftermarket system. Again, even ours suffered from it. That was mainly because of some initial design flaws. But what is standard practice is to upgrade them to like a PowerFlex type bush. So what we'll do is, before we even start, we'll swap all the bushes to PowerFlex ones and use those during the development process. That way we can make sure that as we move further down the car, again, even with the added weight of a stainless system, we're not going to have any issues with it kind of knocking on anything or hitting the body or just general things where you don't want the exhaust to come into contact with stuff. Right, so we've got this first section up. Obviously we've done one before, so we kind of know all the angles and the distance between bends, but obviously we're now working on a car with heat shields, so we're trying to tweak that and get it a little bit better. We've definitely got some more clearance on critical areas now that we didn't have before. We just need to make a small adjustment at the front here. Just going to take a little bit of the bend angle out, and then we can kind of tack a flange on, probably tack some hanger brackets on, and then start working on that middle section. We've looked at that front section, and now it's kind of onto this middle section. But realistically, at this point, we need something to aim at on the back. So we started to look at silencers, what we want to go with. These are a really popular car for track use. We know that already. A lot of the systems we sold the first time round were for track use. So we know that noise regulations are a big thing. One of the things we're starting to do a lot more now is kind of track-friendly exhaust systems. So that's where we'll go with the design of this. So we want quite a big silencer box in there. We've got an 8-inch by 12-inch long silencer, but I think we'll probably end up with one a bit longer as well, maybe probably like a 16-inch long. So we're going to get loads of noise reduction in, which is obviously what you want for a track car. You don't want to be falling foul of track noise limits, because it's an easy way to ruin a track day. So we've got a silencer kind of propped in there, or a silencer shell and some end baffles, and I already know it's going to need to be an offset silencer, so we'll need some mandrel bent perforated tube. But now that we've got a silencer kind of plonked in roughly where we think it needs to be, with a kind of hole to aim at, we can now start to work out this centre section here. So I've got this double 90-degree section bent up, and it is about bang on really when we hold that in place. Obviously we've got to leave enough room for our V-band joiner section in there, and and it's, you know, we've got quite a bit of ground clearance, which is good. Again, that's what you want on a track car, road car, anything really. Quite a lot of aftermarket systems don't seem to take into account, you know, decent ground clearance or anything like that. So yeah, we've got good ground clearance. We now need to just get up and over the axle. So from this point onwards, I would kind of measure an angle up here, which I know is roughly going to be 45 degrees because that's what it was last time. Again, we're just tweaking our existing design really. We're going to want a 45 degree bend up here, and that's probably going to terminate this section. So we'll have a 45 degree bend on the end of here, and then another V-band, and then we'll go into the rear silencer section. So we'll end up with kind of the exhaust being in 3 full sections that way. So I've got another bend that we've cut down, and we've swaged this out for now. So we're not likely to run a production version like that, but this is just to allow us to prototype it a bit quicker. We can change the angle really fast, and that sits there nicely, just like it did before. And we've now got our 45 degree bend taking us up and over the axle. So that's where our V-band section will terminate, and then we'll go up into the silencer. So really what we need to do now is decide exactly what kind of length of silencer we're going to use, get it in exactly the right position, so then we can design that section that's going to go between here and the silencer. So we've got this central section roughly worked out now, and we can start thinking about linking this piece to the rear silencer. But what we really need to do before we carry on going any further is we need to kind of shore all this lot up now. We need to start putting some flanges on here. We've come quite away from that downpipe, and now we need to kind of fix it all in position. So the next job's going to be to attach the 2-bolt flange to the front onto the downpipe section, and then start with V-band on here and on here, and then get it all hung on the car in the correct position. We've got the pipework cleaned up now, flange attached to the downpipe and in at the right angle, so that we know that's perfectly straight down the car, which is what we want. So now it's just a case of marking this up. We'll tack that on, and then we'll also put a V-band flange on the back of this end, and we can join that centre section up at the same time. Then we can start linking it up to that rear box. Right, so we've got all the flanges tacked up now, and the exhaust is kind of self-supporting. We've got it just stacked up on a piece of titanium tube, which is that's the way to do it. So we've not got any hangers on it yet, so we're going to allow for some drop. At this point, what I always like to do is we work with the exhaust kind of 4 or 5 millimeters higher than we know it will sit at, because then as we put it onto those hanger brackets, and there's a slight amount of sag and stretch in those bushes, it then sits at the height you want it to sit at, basically. So we've got this where it wants to be, and we can now start looking at this next section, which is where our next joint's going to go. We're going to have another V-band flange here, so it's a case of getting this in the right position, getting this prepped up, getting our flange tacked on the end of here, getting this bend tacked into here, and then we can actually start linking it to the rear silencer. So we looked at doing this mandrel bent section leading up to this V-band flange, and we've got that tacked on there now. And then the next kind of 2 bends that come into the silencer. So we've assembled the silencer and got that nice and square and as high up into the back of the boot floor as we can. And then we've also got these other 2 bends that are kind of slipped into each other at the minute. So I've marked that. We'll take it off the car and tack it, and then we're actually going to bend that section up as one as well. We want the fewest amount of weld joints in here possible, So realistically, the only pipe join we're going to have, other than V-band flanges, is this one here, where it's just too, we just don't have enough room to bend that as one section and still get it nice. We could bring that further out and have it as one bent section, but the fitment just wouldn't be as good. So we've got some hanger brackets, temporary hanger brackets tacked on now onto these Powerflex bushes. We don't have any kind of hanger bullet to actually locate these yet, purely because it's a lot easier getting on and off the car when it's a prototype to just use a plain piece of bar and we can just get it on and off really quickly. But yeah, we've got both of those on this rear silencer, which is the most important part. So now we'll move forward on the car and work out those two on that front pipe. So we've got those back brackets done. We just need to focus on these front two now. So we've got plenty of clearance on this chassis brace, which is what we want. We don't want that to rattle or bang on there. These two are fairly simple. Again, they're pretty much just going to be the same as what we had on our original exhaust system. We're just tweaking it around the back there, around those heat shields. So yeah, we're just going to use two 90-degree bent piece of stainless bar. We'll have a hanger bullet on there on the production version. Just tigged on. Got both these hanger brackets tacked on now. So at the minute they're just a kind of bent piece of bar. They will have the kind of bullets on them and they'll get beefed up a little bit. We'll kind of reinforce them like we do with all of our exhaust systems. Obviously they bear quite a bit of weight, and over time what you can find is as the exhaust goes through loads of heat cycles and the stainless starts to break down a little bit, that's where they can fail, so it's best just to reinforce them to make sure they don't. With the hanger brackets tacked on into position now, it's just a case of working out tailpipe length. Obviously we've already got the hole in the silencer in the middle of the cutout, which is what we want. We don't want a wonky tailpipe. What we offered last time with the tailpipes was we offered this turn down tip on the kind of ultimate one, which was the one with the cat in the tailpipe. We're not going to offer the cat in the tailpipe anymore because basically nobody wanted it. So we're going to offer just the turn down, the 3.5-inch turn down tip, along with a twin exit, because the ST180 comes with a twin 80 as standard, and it seemed to be that a lot of people loved the single exit turn down style, and a lot of people just wanted a twin exit. So we're going to try and cater for both this time around. So I've got a rough prototype of what it is we're going to offer for this twin exit. I'm going to go for like a double walled 3.5-inch twin tip. So yeah, it fills the cutout quite nicely, and it sits at just about the right height, which is also what you want. You don't want it kind of sagging too low. But yeah, I think that really does suit the back end of the Fiesta. So it's now just a case of, again, getting that tip on in the correct position. We'll get the system welded up and then we can get it tested. So as you can see, we've now got it all fitted. We've got loads of clearance around these heat shields here, which is obviously the issue we had before with it. We've got really good clearance over the beam. The pipe work sweeps nicely out of the way of this bracket. We've got plenty of clearance from these airbags, so it'll also fit with the coil springs, no problem. And then the tailpipe sits perfectly in the middle of the cutout, which is what you want. We're looking forward to getting on with the first batch of these, so Hopefully by the time you see this video we'll have those in progress and you'll be able to order on the website. If you need to know anything else, just get in touch.